Well, I started dating when I was about 14 years old, so my mom was always on the road, always moving, so I was just kind of raised by, it was me, my brother, and basically my nanny who raised me. So I wasn't really taking dating seriously. My mom was always telling me, the first thing she always told me, make sure you date a young man that you can take to the White House, because you are going to the White House one day. And, at that age, you kind of just throw it over your head and be like, Mom, what are you talking about? But once you realize and you're 20 and you've been through some things with young men, and you start thinking about your history in the past and how it affects your choices with young men now, and you think about it like, dang, my mom was really right. I probably should be looking for a man that I can take to the White House. So that's a whole, looking for that person is, a story in itself. But it's just one of those things as growing up, it's like, wow, I really wish I had listened to my mom and some of the things that she told me. A lot of girls think they have this, battle between their mother and, they always say daughters are the mother's revenge, or, the mother is, backfire if the mother, lashed out when she was a teenager. So I think that I was kind of that child for my mom. But if I had listened to her, and if I had listened, and when she told me not to go in the hole, but I had to go into the hole to see what was there, and then I fell in, and then I was like, can you take me out? And then she told me, well, don't go in the hole. So why'd you do it? So now that I'm 20, it's like one of those situations where I'm like, I'm definitely not going back in that hole. I didn't really start looking for a man that was like my father. I kind of wanted to date somebody that, my father, I wanted knowing that my father dresses so well, I wanted to date a man that dressed like my father. But yeah, I looked for somebody that was charismatic and charming like my dad. But my stepdad also had a big influence in me. And I think both of them together, both of them combined, are just two amazing men. And if I was always thinking, I want my stepdad and my dad. But it was just, I was just making poor choices. And, it was just one of those things where daddy issues kind of took over. I get a lot of things when it comes down to people telling me they're really appreciated by what I say. But I think one letter that I had received, or one email I'd received from a young girl, was that, as much as I talk about fashion, I talk about life experiences as well. And I had spoken about something with my parents and their divorce, and the young girl was just totally touched by it. And she had reached out to me, and she had said that she was going through some things, and it was really deep, and I knew I couldn't help her in a way, but all I could say was, thank you, I'm here for you if you need somebody to help. And I think that really made me realize who I'm reaching out to. I'm reaching out to young girls. I'm reaching out to young women, or, anybody that's really had a hard life experience, that we all go through something no matter what it is. We just go through it in different ways. When I found out my parents were divorced, they sat me down on basically a chair and said, we're getting a divorce. And I told my parents, I was like, that's totally fine. Just make sure dad has a pool in his new apartment. But at the time when I was younger, I didn't realize it until when I got older. It had an effect on, the young men I was dating, how I viewed relationships. And I think a lot of people don't realize that what you go through in the past kind of affects your future and your choices. And for me to write about that in my blog, and for somebody to, be impacted by that their parents were, in a terrible relationship and they had to get a divorce, it was just one of those things where I kind of flew over my head, but I had to take the time to realize and digest that this girl was really impacted by it. I would tell myself just to be patient. I would tell myself to wait, I would definitely tell myself don't rush into it. I always tell myself now that, don't put your deadline before God's timing, and then have a sense of balance, because you know what? Your timing actually might be God's timing too. So if you have a good sense of balance of who you are, and being able to wait, observe, look, and listen, those are life skills that can actually have a greater impact on the choices you make in life.
Thank you for watching A Wise Way. Subscribe to stay updated, share to pass the knowledge, or view our other videos on the left.